Alrighty, so welcome back, everybody. My name is Amiel Duncan. Today's presentation will be recorded, so if you don't want to be in the recording, I do ask that you turn off your cameras and that everyone does keep their microphone muted. Today's presentation is going to be on Mastering IRS Installment Agreements, a step-by-step guide for taxpayers. Let's see. All right, so who we are. We are the Taxpayers Help Center, which is a nonprofit organization here in Northridge, California. We operate two tax clinics. So the first one being the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic, where we help taxpayers resolve their tax disputes with the IRS. And then our second clinic is going to be the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, the VITA Clinic. And here we help prepare, we help prepare income taxes for free. Masu Shatoni, he is the CPA. He's the director for both clinics. And then once again, my name is Amiel Duncan, and I'm the director of the outreach program for the LITC. Now, how can someone support or get involved? So individuals and businesses can support us financially by donating funds to help us expand the reach of our services. They can volunteer their time or expertise or spread awareness about our services. We help taxpayers both locally here in Los Angeles and beyond nationwide. We are an IRS authorized certifying acceptance agent, a CAA, for the individual taxpayer identification number applications. So you can call us at any time to set up an appointment to apply for an ITIN number if needed. And then to stay connected with us, we are located here in Northridge, California at 9029 Reseda Boulevard, Suite 209. And then our phone number is going to be 818-366-0111. You can also check out our website at www.taxpayershelpcenter.com. We also have an email that's linked right below, which is info@taxpayershelpcenter.com. And then lastly, if you feel that today's presentation was helpful for you and it could be beneficial for someone you know or love, you can always send them to our Facebook page, which is Taxpayers Help Center, Inc., a nonprofit tax organization where this presentation will be uploaded later. We have older presentations on our Facebook as well, and then you can always stay up to date with new events that we will be hosting. Now, let's go ahead and jump on into the presentation. Once again, it's Mastering IRS Installment Agreements, a step-by-step guide for taxpayers. So the ID.me account. So for creating an ID.me account, it's pretty straightforward. I have all the steps listed here below. So the first step being you're going to visit idme.com. Then from there, you're going to click on create an ID.me account. It should be one of the first options you see once you click that initial website. The third step is going to be your email and creating a password. And then from there, you'll confirm your email. So you're going to go to your email account, find the email that was just sent to you from ID.me, and then you're going to confirm it through there. Then after that, you're going to set up a multi-factor authentication. So you can either choose a text message, phone call, or use the authentication app like Google Authenticator. And then from there, you're going to have to verify your identity. So you could upload a government issued photo ID. You could take a selfie to match with the photo ID you provided. You're going to have to answer some personal questions. And in some cases, you might need to complete the process via a live video chat with the ID.me representative. The second to last step after all of that is going to be completing your profile with additional information like your social security number, your address, and your phone number. And then after that, you're going to link to government services by logging into the respective service portal using your ID.me credentials. Now, benefits of having an ID.me account. So for number one, secure access. So ID.me provides a highly secure method to to verify your identity, reducing the risk of identity theft and fraud when accessing sensitive government services. Number two, single sign-on. So with ID.me account, you can access multiple government services using one login, streamlining your interactions with different agencies. The third benefit would be ease of use. So once your identity is verified, you can easily access your IRS records, including tax transcripts, payment history, and more without the need to repeatedly prove your identity. The fourth benefit would be mobile accessibility. So ID.me can be accessed via mobile devices, making it convenient to manage your IRS and other government-related accounts on the go. And then the last benefit is the faster service. So since ID.me reduces the need for in-person verification, you can resolve issues or access services faster than traditional methods. Now, how to track IRS liabilities through the online portal. So first, you're going to log into your IRS account. From there, you're going to visit IRS website and log in using your ID.me account credentials. And then you're going to access your account information by navigating to the account balance section, where you can view your total balance, including any taxes owed, penalties, and interest. Their step would be to review payment history. So the portal allows you to see your payment history, which provides a clear record of what has been paid and what remains outstanding. Now, continuing on, the fourth step, I know it says one, but it's the fourth step. So you're going to check your tax transcripts. So under the tax record section, you can access your tax transcripts, which detail your tax return information and any adjustments that have been made. This helps in understanding how liabilities were calculated. Then the fifth step is going to be setting up payment plans. So if you have outstanding liabilities, you can use the portal to set up payment plans. The system will guide you through the process of applying for an installment agreement or paying your balance in full. Then the last step, number 6, is going to be monitoring for notices and alerts. So the online portal also provides notifications if there are any updates or issues with your account. Now, what is an IA, an installment agreement? So basic definition of an installment agreement is that it's a payment plan that allows taxpayers to pay their tax debts over time in manageable installments rather than paying the full amount owed all at once. And the purpose of the installment agreement is to provide taxpayers with a structured and feasible way to satisfy their tax liabilities when they are unable to pay the full amount by the due date. So what happens when you request an installment agreement? So while your request is pending, the IRS usually won't take action to collect your debt while they decide whether to approve your payment plan. Now, if your request is rejected, then they won't take action for another 30 days, giving you time to figure out your next step. If you miss a payment, the IRS gives you 30 days, once again, before they might cancel the plan. And during this time, they won't take action, or they won't collect action, excuse me. And then if you appeal, so if you don't agree with the IRS decisions to reject or cancel your payment plan and you appeal, the IRS can collect from you while the appeal is being reviewed. Different types of the installment agreement. So there are 6 types of installment agreements. So we have short-term, long-term, guaranteed, streamlined, partial payment, and non-streamlined. So the first 3. So we have short-term installment agreements. So the duration of this is up to 180 days. It's best for taxpayers who can pay their full tax debt within a few months. And there are no setup fees, penalties, and interest continue to occur until the debt is fully paid. Now moving on to the long-term installment agreement, this duration is over 180 days, typically without monthly payments. It's best for taxpayers who need more time to pay off their debt in smaller manageable payments. And then features, the setup fees apply. Penalties and interest occur, and it's available online if you owe $50,000 or less. And then the guaranteed installment agreement. So this is for people who owe $10,000 or less in taxes. So this is best for taxpayers who meet the specific criteria. This is like filed all required returns in the past 5 years and haven't entered into another agreement. And then the features for this one, the IRS is required to accept the agreement if you qualify. No detailed financial information is needed. And then moving on to the last 3, we have streamlined installment agreements. So this is for people who owe $50,000 or less for individuals. And then if you're a business, it would be $25,000 or less. And this is best for taxpayers who owe moderate amounts and prefer a simplified approval process. And then the features for this one, there's no financial statement required, and you can set up online, and you have up to 72 months to pay. Now, the partial payment installment agreement, also known as the PPIA, this one is monthly payments, but less than the total debt owed. This is best for taxpayers who can't afford to pay the full amount owed, even with a long-term agreement. And the features for this one, the IRS reviews your financial situation periodically. Remaining debt may be forgiven after the agreement ends. And then the last and final installment agreement or payment plan is the non-streamlined installment agreement. So to be eligible for this one, you have to owe more than $50,000. This is best for taxpayers with larger tax debts, and the features for this one, it does require detailed financial information, and payments typically spread over up to 72 months. IRS Fresh Start Initiative. So the IRS Fresh Start Initiative is a program designed to make it easier for taxpayers who are struggling with their tax debts to get back on track. Introduced in 2011 and expanded in later years, the initiative offers several key benefits and options to help taxpayers resolve their outstanding tax liabilities without facing overwhelming financial pressure. The main goal of the IRS Fresh Start Initiative is to help taxpayers who are facing financial difficulties by providing more flexible and accessible options to pay off or settle their tax debts. By easing the requirements for the installment agreements, offers and compromise, and lien withdrawals, the IRS aim to reduce the burden on taxpayers while still ensuring that taxes are collected. So who can benefit from this? Individuals and businesses. The initiative is available to both individuals and small businesses. And then taxpayers facing hardship. So those experiencing financial hardship or who are unable to pay their tax debts in full can particularly benefit from the provisions of the Fresh Start Initiative program. Now, eligibility criteria. So who qualifies for an installment agreement? Most taxpayers who owe money to the IRS but cannot pay their full tax debt immediately may qualify for the installment agreement. The IRS generally offers these agreements to individuals and businesses who need more time to pay their tax liabilities. So income thresholds and debt limits. So income thresholds. The IRS does not set specific income thresholds for installment agreements, but your income and ability to pay are considered when determining the terms of the agreement. The IRS may request financial information to assess your assess your ability to make payments. Number 2, debt limits. So for streamlined installment agreements, for individuals, you can owe up to $50,000 in combined tax, penalties, and interest. And for businesses, you can owe up to $25,000 in combined tax, penalties, and interest. Now, streamlined installment agreements a little different. So for taxpayers who owe more than $50,000, a non-streamlined agreement may be necessary. These agreements require more detailed financial information and a more thorough review by the IRS. Now, so differences between streamlined and non-streamlined agreements. So for streamlined, once again, you have to owe $50,000 or less for individuals or $25,000 or less for businesses. The application process is simple and quicker to set up. There's minimal financial disclosure that's required, usually no need to provide detailed financial information. And this can be applied, or you can apply for this online through the IRS website. Payment terms, payments are typically spread out over up to 72 months, so 6 years. And then the benefits, once again, it's an easier approval process. There's no need for extensive financial documentation. And the IRS generally does not file a federal tax lien as long as you stay current with the agreement. Now for non-streamlined installment agreements, once again, eligibility are for those who owe more than $50,000 for individuals or have unique financial situations. Application process does require more of a detailed application, and you must provide extensive financial documentation, including Form 433. And then that's the collection information statement. So for payment terms are flexible and tailored to the taxpayer's financial situation, and the duration and amount of payments can vary widely based on what the IRS determines you can afford. Benefits, it's customizable based on your financial condition. but there are a few drawbacks. So it does take longer to process and approve, and it's more invasive as it requires a full financial disclosure. Now, setting up an installment agreement online. So first step, you're going to visit the IRS website. So go to irs.gov. On the homepage, you're going to click the Pay tab. And then from there, you're going to select Apply for an Online Payment Agreement, which is also known as an installment agreement. And that should be within the drop-down menu. So after the first step, you're going to log in or create an IRS account. So you'll need to log in with your IRS account credentials. If you don't have an account, you'll need to create one by providing your email address, setting up a password, and verifying your identity using information like your social security number, filing status, and details from a recent tax return. And then number 3, the third step would be starting the application process. So from there, once you have logged in, you're going to navigate to the Apply for an Online Payment Agreement section. And from there, you're going to click on Apply/Revise to start the process. The fourth step is providing required information. The IRS will ask for the following information. So personal information being your social security number, date of birth, and filing status. They will ask for your current address that's listed on your most recent tax return, tax year, and balance owed. So the specific tax years for which you owe, along with the amount, and then financial information if needed. So for non-streamlined agreements, you may need to provide more detailed financial information such as income, expenses, and assets. The fifth step is choosing the right payment plan. So select your payment option. Short-term payment, once again, within 120 days, there's no setup fee, but interest and penalties will continue to occur until the balance is paid off. Then we have long-term, which is paid in monthly installments over 120 days. Or over more than 120 days, excuse me. You can choose between a direct debit option where payments are automatically withdrawn from your bank account, or a non-direct debit option where you manually make payments each month. And then after that, you're going to decide on a monthly payment amount. So the IRS will suggest a minimum monthly payment based on your balance. You can choose to pay more if you're able. And then for a direct debit agreement, you can choose your payment date. For a non-direct debit, you'll need to ensure payments are made by the date that you do select. I believe this is the last step, so number 6, which is reviewing and submitting your application. So review all of the information you provided, confirm that the details are correct and that you understand the terms of the agreement, and then you're going to submit your application. So you'll receive immediate notification of whether your agreement is approved. Now, required information and documents. So once again, like I stated in the previous slides, so personal identification, your social security number, date of birth, and filing status. You'll also need to provide your bank account information. This is for direct debit payments. Income and financial information. This is only required for non-streamlined agreements. And then tax return information, details from your most recent tax return you'll need to have prepared with you. Choosing the right payment plan. So this kind of just goes over basically what I've been saying about each of the different payment plans. So to reiterate, once again, short-term payment plan is best if you can pay off your balance within 120 days. Long-term payment plan, streamlined. This is ideal if you owe $50,000 or less and you need up to 72 months to pay. This plan is easier to set up online with minimal financial disclosure. And then the non-streamlined payment plan is necessary if you owe more than $50,000 or you need a customized payment agreement. This plan requires a detailed financial information and is more complex to arrange. Now, calculating your monthly payment. So first, you're going to assess your financial situation. So your income. This includes all sources of income, such as wages, business income, and other regular earnings. Then you're going to list your expenses. So your expenses include essential expenses like rent, mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, and other necessary monthly expenses. and then you will determine disposable income. So you're going to subtract your total monthly expenses from your total monthly income to find your disposable income. This amount will guide you in determining how much you can afford to pay the IRS each month. Moving on to number 2, which is understanding penalties and interest. So for penalties, failure to pay a penalty, this typically is a 0.5% of the unpaid taxes for each month. The tax remains unpaid and up to 25% of your unpaid balance. So failure to file penalty, if you haven't filed your tax return, this penalty is usually 5% of the unpaid taxes for each month the return is late and up to 25%. Moving on to interest. Interest occurs on your unpaid tax balance at the federal short-term interest rate plus 3% compounded daily. This can significantly increase your total debt over time. And then calculating the impact. So when calculating your monthly payment, remember that interest and penalties will continue to occur on your remaining balance. Therefore, paying as much as you can afford each month will help reduce the overall cost. So the IRS will give you a minimum payment, but if you can pay more than the minimum, we highly suggest that you do pay more than the minimum. Number 3 is calculate an affordable monthly payment. So minimum payment. So the IRS may suggest a minimum monthly payment based on your total debt and the number of months over which you can spread the payments, up to 72 months for streamlined agreements. So calculate a realistic payment. Based on your disposable income, choose a payment amount that you can consistently afford each month without straining your budget. Consider paying more than the minimum if possible, as this will reduce the amount of interest and penalties you pay over time. Number 4, so we have tips for budgeting to ensure consistent payments. So you can prioritize your IRS payments, so treat your IRS payment as a priority, similar to your rent or mortgage. Missing payments can lead to defaulting on agreements and may result in the IRS taking collection actions. Another tip is to review and adjust your budget. So regularly reviewing your budget to identify areas where you can cut back, such as eating out, entertainment, or non-essential purchases like shopping, to free up more money for the IRS payments. The third tip would be to set up automatic payments. So if it's possible, setting up automatic payments through a direct debit installment agreement will ensure your payment is made on time each month, reducing the risk of missed payments and missed payment fees, penalty fees. The fourth benefit would be building an emergency fund. So setting aside a small emergency fund to cover your IRS payment in case of unexpected expenses such as medical bills or car repairs. And then lastly, considering increasing your income. So if your budget is really tight, consider finding ways to increase your income, such as taking on a side job or freelance work to make your IRS payments more manageable. Now, maintaining your installment agreement. So to maintain your installment agreement, you want to make sure that you're making your payments on time, file all required tax returns, pay for future taxes on time, and keep contact information updated. Now, there are consequences of defaulting on payments. So that could be the immediate termination of the agreement. So the IRS may cancel your installment agreement, meaning the full amount of your tax debt becomes due immediately. There's also collection actions. So the IRS may take aggressive collection actions, such as issuing a notice of federal tax lien, garnishing your wages, or levying your bank accounts or other assets. There's accrual of additional penalties and interest. So penalties and interest continue to occur on your unpaid tax balance, increasing the total amount you owe. And then damage to credit score. If a lien is filled, it can negatively impact your credit score, making it harder to obtain credit in the future. And then lastly, the loss of future installment agreements. So defaulting on installment agreements may make it more difficult to negotiate future agreements with the IRS. Now, options if you can't make a payment. So if you can't make a payment, you want to contact the IRS immediately. Do not wait until you miss a payment. Contact IRS as soon as you realize you're unable to make a payment, as they may be able to adjust your agreement and offer temporary relief. You can also request a payment adjustment. So if your financial situation has changed, you can request that the IRS adjusts the terms of your installment agreement. This may involve extending the payment period or lowering the monthly payment amount. And then we have temporary suspension of payments. So in some cases, the IRS may grant a temporary suspension of payments if you're facing a short-term financial hardship. Interest and penalties will continue to cure, but the agreement won't be canceled. The last three options would be to apply for a new installment agreement. So if your financial situation has significantly changed, you may be able to negotiate a new installment agreement with terms that benefit or that better fit and benefit your current circumstance. Also consider an offer in compromise, so an OIC. If you're unable to pay the full amount and your financial situation is unlikely to improve, you might qualify for an offer in compromise where the IRS agrees to settle your tax debt for less than the full amount owed. And then the last option is to seek professional help. So you can always consider consulting with a tax professional or a tax resolution service for guidance on managing your agreement and exploring other options. They can negotiate with the IRS on your behalf. Now, common pitfalls and how to avoid them. So, common mistakes taxpayers make when setting up installment agreements. Underestimating monthly payments. So, you want to avoid this by calculating your payment based on your disposable income and consider paying as much as you can afford each month to reduce the overall cost. And then failing to include all tax debts. You can avoid this by double checking that all tax years and amounts owed are included in the agreement to avoid missed liabilities. And then not keeping up with future tax obligations. You can avoid this by planning ahead to ensure you have funds available for future tax obligations and stay current with your filings and payments. Missing payments, you can avoid this by setting up automatic payments if possible and maintaining a budget that prioritizes your IRS payment to encourage or ensure consistency. And then lastly, ignoring IRS communications. So you avoid this by always reading and responding to any communication from the IRS regarding your agreement. It could contain important information about changes or issues with your account. Now, how to avoid accruing penalties and additional information. Oops. So staying current on all tax filings. So ensure that all your tax returns are filed on time, even if you cannot pay the full amount owed. This helps you avoid the failure to file penalty. Number 2 is making payment plans. So ensuring your payments are made by the due dates each month to avoid penalties for late payments, and setting up a direct debit agreement can help with this as well. Then we have paid or pay estimated taxes. So if you're self-employed or have income not subject to withholding, make sure you pay estimated taxes quarterly to avoid underpayment penalties. Number 2 for this slide is to monitor your payment plan. So regularly check your account with the IRS to ensure that payments are being credited properly and that there are no issues with your installment agreement. And then lastly, keep the IRS informed. So if your financial situation changes or if you can't make a payment, contact the IRS immediately to discuss options and avoid penalties. What to do if you receive an IRS notice regarding your agreement. So you want to read the notice carefully. Sometimes these notices include important information about your account, such as missed payments, changes in your agreement, or upcoming deadlines. Then you want to understand the issue, so determine what the IRS is notifying you about. It could be a simple reminder, a warning of potential default, or a request for more information. And then you want to take immediate action. So if the notice indicates a problem, such as a missed payment or a failure to file a return, address it immediately. Contact the IRS if you need clarification or assistance. And then you're going to adjust your agreement if necessary. So if the notice suggests that your agreement is no longer feasible, you may need to renegotiate the terms. Once again, you're going to contact the IRS to discuss options like adjusting your payment amount, or extending the payment period. Then you can always seek for professional help. So if the notice is complex or you're unsure how to respond, consider consulting a tax professional. They can help you interpret the notice and take appropriate action. And then lastly, you want to make sure you respond by the deadline. So if the notice requires a response, make sure to do so by the specified deadline to avoid further penalties and enforcement actions. Now, benefits of IRS installment agreements. So advantages of entering into an installment agreement. The first one being avoids wage garnishments and levies. So this is protection from IRS enforcement actions. So when you enter into an installment agreement, the IRS generally agrees to pause aggressive collection actions like wage garnishments, bank levies, or property seizures. This means that as long as you comply with the terms of the agreement, the IRS won't take these actions to collect the debt. And then there's also peace of mind. So knowing that your wages and assets are protected from the IRS levies gives you peace of mind and allows you to focus on repaying your debt without the constant threat of enforcement actions. Number two, it helps manage tax debt and affordable payments. So spreads out payments over time. Instead of having to pay your tax debt in one lump sum, an installment agreement allows you to spread the payments out over several months or years, making it easier to manage within your budget. And then reduces financial strain. So by paying in smaller, more manageable amounts, you can avoid the financial strain that a large tax bill might cause. This makes it easier to balance your IRS payments with other financial responsibilities. Number three is it avoids additional penalties for non-payment. So this reduces the risk of occurring further penalties by entering into an installment agreement. Shows the IRS that you're making a good faith effort to pay your debt, which can help avoid additional penalties for non-payment or failure to file. And then it minimizes interest accrual. So while interest still occurs on the unpaid balance, making regular payments reduces the principal faster, which in turn can help minimize the total interest you'll pay over time. Number four is providing financial stability. So predictable payments. With a set monthly payment, you can budget more effectively, knowing exactly how much you need to allocate each month toward your IRS debt. And then it also prevents escalation of debt. So by entering into an agreement and sticking to it, you prevent your tax debt from growing uncontrollably due to escalating penalties and interest, giving you a clearer path to financial stability. Number five, it improves credit standing over time. So this avoids negative credit impacts. The IRS debts don't directly impact your credit score. Unpaid taxes can lead to liens, which do affect your credit. By staying current on your installment agreement, you can avoid liens and protect your credit score. And then it also demonstrates responsibility. So entering into and successfully managing an installment agreement can demonstrate financial responsibility, which is beneficial if you need to negotiate other financial agreements in the future. And with that being all, that concludes our presentation for today on installment agreements. Thank you all very much for staying tuned and listening and being patient. If you want to stay connected with us, you can once again go ahead and visit us here in office in Northridge, California at 9029 Reseda Boulevard, Suite 209. You can always give us a call at 818-366-0111. Check out our website at www.taxpayershelpcenter.com. You can also send us an email at info@taxpayershelpcenter.com. And then lastly, if today's presentation was beneficial towards you and you think it could help someone you love out, you can always send them to our Facebook page, which is Taxpayers Help Center, Inc., a nonprofit tax organization, where this presentation will be uploaded. And then we do have previous presentations uploaded as well. And with our Facebook, you can stay in touch and stay up to date with new events that we will be hosting in the future. So with that being all, I thank you guys for joining. And if there's any questions, I can answer them. But if not, everyone's free to go. Thank you. And I hope everyone has a great day.